Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, and I'm back with another video for you guys. Hopefully, you're all having an awesome day today and ready to learn something new here. Today's video, we're going to cover Pyramid of Pain. It's a room inside of TryHackMe. It's a free room, so be sure to create a TryHackMe account if you don't have one already, and then you can follow along with this video, or you can do it at your own pace. But anyway, let's get into it. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this room does have a lot of text to read through, so we're going to use the format of I'm going to ask you guys to pause the video and then read the text yourself, or just go to the room and read the text. I'm just going to skim over it and maybe highlight some few important items inside the text. Pyramid of Pain. Learn what is the Pyramid of Pain, how to utilize this model to determine the level of difficulty will cause it for an adversary to change the indicators associated with them in their campaign. Introduction, it talks about how various different top vendors out there use the Pyramid of Pain to improve the effectiveness of CTI, which is cyber threat intelligence, threat hunting, and incident response exercises, yada, yada, yada. Just understand the Pyramid of Pain concept as a threat hunter, incident responder, or SOC analyst is important. And then it asks if you're ready to continue on. Go ahead and click that there to continue on. And task number 2 is going to go over hash values, right? And it's marked as trivial because they're very easy to change for an attacker, right? Say attacker creates a piece of malware. Okay, well, let's say the malware was flagged, right? They uploaded it to VirusTotal or whatever, and then it's got the hashes all listed out in there. Well, okay, well, if I'm the malware author, okay, well, I'm going to change a few things in my malware. That way, it'll have a different hash, and it won't be picked up by signature-based antivirus solutions. And that's pretty much what it explains here. It talks about various different hashes, MD5, SHA-1, SHA-2, so be sure to pause the video and go through and read all this and understand it. Now, if you're going to the room, be sure to check out these links here so that you can learn even more information about these hashes and such. It goes through and explains, and it says a hash is not considered to be cryptographically secure if two files have the same hash value or digest, right? And that's absolutely secure or absolutely true. Security professionals usually use the hash values to gain insight into a specific malware sample, a malicious or suspicious file, and as a way to uniquely identify and reference the malicious artifact. And it talks about reports in the past about ransomware, malware reports, etc., etc. Tells you to check out the DFIR report, which is great. Be sure to check out the DFIR report. It's got tons of examples on there about real world incident response or forensics investigations, and it's a plethora of information that can educate you on a lot of different things if you're unfamiliar with that process. FireEye, threat research blogs, talks about various different tools you can use to look up hashes. VirusTotal is a big one out there. I'm sure everyone checking out the video knows what VirusTotal is. And then Meta Defender Cloud, OP SWAT, which I haven't checked out. I usually use VirusTotal when looking up hashes for a particular piece of malware, etc., etc. And let's continue on here. It's got a screenshot of what it looks like, the hash search in here, right? They searched the hash up here and it pulled up some information about it. It's already been uploaded 28 days ago, did its little analysis and such, right? And then these other tabs here have various different pieces of information here that can be of value to you. Below the hash is the screenshot above, or in the screenshot above, you can see the file name. In this case, it's ilm_croatian.winry, and we saw that right there. And Metadefender Cloud has a similar process, threat name, etc., etc. It's got threats detected and all that. So be sure to check out VirusTotal and OP SWAT. And it's got some more examples down here. As you might have noticed, it's really easy to spot a malicious file if the hash is in our arsenal. However, as an attacker, modifying a file by even a single bit is trivial, which would produce a different hash value with so many variations. And instances of known malware, ransomware, threat hunting using file hashes as IOCs can be difficult, and that's absolutely true. Like I said, it's trivial. Very easy to modify your piece of malware. That way, it'll have a brand new hash. Let's take a look at an example of how to change a hash value of a file, simply appending a string to the end of the file using echo file hash before the modifications. Got the example here, right? Get file hash. And this particular commandlet is using PowerShell. So this commandlet's just getting the MD5 hash of this MSI file here. And you can see there at the bottom, MD5's got the hash there, and then they got the file path of that particular file in question. And then this is where they use echo to append that string to that particular file. They ran the get file hash again, and you can see there that the hash has changed. Now, be sure to pause the video and then answer the questions below. And if you get lost, don't worry. We're going to go through and and find these answers, right? So go ahead and pause the video and then try to answer the questions. Now I'm just going to continue on to it, and it wants us to analyze the report associated with this particular hash. Click here. What is the file name of the sample below, or of the sample? Go ahead and go into it here, and I'm going to increase screen size here. And as stated above in that screenshot where it explained how to find that particular file name, we have it right here. Sales receipt 5606.xls, right? So that's the answer to that one. Now let's continue on. All right, task number 3, IP address easy. You may have learned the importance of an IP address from the what is networking room. If you haven't done so, be sure to check out that room. The importance of the IP address. An IP address is used to identify any device connected to a network. These range from desktops to yada yada yada. We rely on IP addresses to send and receive the important or information over the network. We're not going to get into structured yada yada yada. Pyramid of pain. And the pyramid of pain, IP addresses are indicated with the color green. You might be asking why and what you can associate the color green with. From a defense standpoint, knowledge of an IP address of an adversary can be valuable. A common defense tactic is to block, drop, or deny inbound requests from IP addresses on your perimeter or external firewall. This tactic is often not bulletproof as it's trivial for an experienced adversary to recover simply by using a new public IP address. And that's absolutely true. These days, you can get a public IP address very easy, right? And it goes through and gives you a screenshot of a sandbox called AnyRun, automated sandbox here. And it's got some fancy little colors and all that stuff listed out here. HTTP requests, connections, DNS requests, threats, etc., etc. It says do not attempt to interact with the IP addresses shown above. One of the ways an adversary can make it challenging to successfully carry out IP blocking is to use fastflux. And if you don't know what that is, I recommend going through and checking out a few links here. One's by Akamai, and then there's other one down here. According to Akamai, fastflux is a DNS technique used by botnets to hide phishing, web proxying, malware delivery, and malware communication activities behind compromised hosts acting as proxies. Purpose of using the fastflux network is to make the communication between malware and the command and control challenging to be discovered by security professionals, yada yada yada. You can see the rest there. So be sure to pause the video and go through and read the rest of this text here. And it says read the following report generated by AnyRun for the example here to answer the questions below. So go ahead and pause the video and go through and try to answer the questions below. As usual, we will go over the answers and how to find them, etc., etc. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll get back to it. All right, so continuing on here, let's go ahead and check out the report here. It wants us to find the first IP address associated with that particular PID from the question there, and then also the domain name as well. So let's go ahead and scroll down through this report here. Try to increase this a little bit more, not too much. All right, let's go ahead and now this is going to be on page 5. So let's go down to page 5. Sure I didn't miss it here. Right. So we're going to look at this network activity section, right? And you go through and you look at PID 1632. That's the one in question that it wants us to find the IP address and the domain for that particular PID. And you can see here, process some malicious file.bin.exe, and the IP address is going to be this 50.87 yada yada yada, right? And the port is 443, but you only need the IP address for this particular question. And then it wants us to find the first domain, which is going to be craftingalegacy.com. And reputation is suspicious. All right, so let's continue on to the next task. Task 4, domain names. Simple. Let's step up the pyramid of pain and move on to domain names. You can see the transition of colors from green to teal. Domain names can be thought as simply mapping an IP address to a string of text. A name can contain a domain and a top-level domain. It's got an example there, evilcorp.com, or a subdomain followed by a domain and top-level domain, tryhackme.evilcorp.com. But we're not going into details of DNS, yada yada yada. Be sure to check out the DNS and detail room if you're unfamiliar with DNS, how it works, etc., etc. Domain names can be a little more of a pain for the attacker to change, as they would more than likely need to purchase domain, register it, and modify DNS records Unfortunately for defenders, many domain or DNS providers have loose standards and provide APIs to make it easier for attackers to change domain, and that's true. So one can just go to like, I don't know, HostGator or Rackspace or something and set up some kind of phishing site, right? Well, okay, let's say that domain gets flagged, bam. All right, well, now the attacker has to go and register a new domain again, but hey, that's easy to do, not that hard for those guys. And it's got an example of the malicious Sodinokibi C2 command and control infrastructure domains. Got to list them out here. Let's continue on. And it's got an example of this would be probably a phishing domain because it looks like Adidas, right? But you can tell if you look closely, the characters are different here. Can you spot anything malicious in the screenshot above? Now compare it to a legitimate website viewed below. This is one example of a puny code attack used by attackers to redirect users to a malicious domain name. That seems legitimate at first glance. What is puny code? Puny code is a way of converting words that cannot be written in ASCII into Unicode, ASCII encoding. It's very tricky, those guys. See how the attackers have adapted over time to conduct their malicious activities, right? Now what you saw is in the URL below is the Adidas.id Punycode example of this here. Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Apple Safari are not pretty good at translating the obfuscated characters into full Punycode domain name. To detect malicious domains, proxy logs or web server logs can be used. Attackers usually hide the malicious domain under URL shorteners, right? A URL shortener is a tool that creates a short and unique URL that redirects to a specific website. Specified during the initial step of setting up the URL shortener link, according to Cofense, attackers use the following URL shortener services to generate malicious links. And that's true. A lot of phishing emails and such, you'll see these URL shorteners in here. Bitly was a huge one. I think they've made some progression over the past few years now to try to mitigate or prevent phishing activities from occurring. But yeah, Bitly's a huge one. Google has their own. Owly said you can see the rest there. Tiny.pll, tinyurl.com, etc., x.co. You can see the actual website. The short link is redirecting you to by pinning the plus to it, an example below. Type the shortened URL in the address bar of the web browser and add the above characters to redirect the URL. Examples, shortened links below are non-existent. So I guess go ahead and try that out if you want to. Gives you an example there. Now, when it comes to these tiny URLs, I do not do that on a production machine. I like to put that in my own little sandbox environment, or I'll use a automated sandbox searching tool for these, like URL scan.io is a good one. It'll go through and actually go through and look at this website here, and you can get the full or real URL from the shortened URL. Viewing connections in any.run, because any.run is a sandbox service that executes the sample. We can review any connections such as HTTP requests, DNS requests, or processes. Communicating with an IP address. To do so, look at the networking tab located just below the screenshot of the machine. Please note, you should be extremely cautious about visiting any of the IP addresses or HTTP requests made in a report. And that's true. You don't want to accidentally, infect your machine and all that. After all this, these behaviors from the malware sample, so they're doing something dangerous. Okay, and it got some example here about HTTP requests here, and it tells you where to find an HTTP request tab, and you can see all the information there. You got the URL there, whatever country they're gonna be originating from or to, process's name, PID, yada yada yada. Connections. This tab shows any connections made since the detonation of the sample. This can be useful to see if a process communicates with another host. For example, this could be C2 traffic, uploading, downloading files over FTP, etc. DNS requests made since the detonation of the malware. Often uses DNS requests to check for internet activity. If you can't reach the internet / call home, then it's probably being sandboxed or is useless. And it's got other examples there of that DNS request. Now go ahead and pause the video and try to answer the questions below. We're going to go through and get the answers for these. All right, continuing on and looking at the first one here. It says go the report on any.run, provide the first suspicious URL request you are seeing. It says you will be using this report to answer the remaining questions of this task. Now let's go ahead and find the first suspicious URL. So I'm just going to tab over into that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and check out the connections here. And the first one is going to be that craftinglegacy.com, as you can see here, right? So let's go back over. What term refers to an address used to access a website? Well, that's going to be the domain name as explained up above if you read through there. What type of attack uses Unicode characters in the domain name to imitate the a known domain? And as you read above, it's going to be that Punycode attack, right? They can use Punycode to substitute some characters out to conduct their malicious activities. Provide the redirected website of the shortened URL using a preview, right? So you're gonna copy this here, right? And you're gonna plug it into like a URL unshortener, et cetera, which I've already done. So let's go ahead and tap over there. And I used unshorten.it, right? Plugged it in here, clicked unshorten it, and it took me to here, TryHackMe.com. And like I said, I usually use like urlscan.io, right? Or you can use your own, I guess, sandboxing, VM, what have you. Now, let's go back over and continue on to task number 5. Host artifacts, annoying. Let's take another step up to the yellow zone. On this level, the attacker will feel a little more annoyed and frustrated. If you can detect the attack, that the attacker would need to circle back at this detection level and change his attack tools methodologies. This is a time-consuming process for the attacker, and probably he will need to spend more resources on adversary tools. Host artifacts are the traces or observables that attacker leaves on systems, such as registry values, suspicious process, execution, attack patterns, IOCs, which is indicates compromised files dropped by malicious applications, or anything exclusive to the current threat. Now it's got something to pull up here, and it's showing you various different process names, etc., some information about that. See that it says it's running PowerShell apparently, but it looks kind of odd, doesn't it? So let's continue on here. Suspicious events followed by opening a malicious application. The file is modified, dropped by the malicious actor, and it goes through the little timeline or the processes or process IDs here. You can see they open up WinWord.exe, so probably some kind of malicious Office Word document, right? Had some funky macros in there, and they're running, and then it ran into like a temporary directory here, and then it's got PowerShell launching this particular malware, which is this g underscore jugk.xe, right? Now let's continue on here. It says answer the questions below. So go ahead and pause the video and go through those questions. And as usual, we're going to go through and find these and have a little discussion over them. All right, so continuing on here. It says a security vendor has analyzed the malicious sample for us. Review the report here to answer the following questions. Right, just click done there. A process name regidle.exe makes a post request to an IP address on port 8080. Now it wants us to find an IP address. So let's go ahead, take a look at this report and find that particular IP address for that. Right, and the next question says the malicious actor dropped a malicious XE. What's the name of the executable? So we're going to find that as well. And then we're going to look at another report on VirusTotal. How many vendors determine this host to be malicious? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now we're taking a look at the report, and it wants us to find that IP address communicating on port 8080. And you scroll down to page 50 here, and you'll see it right there. This regidle.exe is the process name. It's doing a post request to this particular IP, which is 96.126.101.6 on port 80. Right, so that's going to be the answer to that question. The next one wants us to find that particular malicious file. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's going to be on page 39, I believe. And let's go ahead and take a look here. Right, like I said, some kind of malicious Word document, had some kind of macros, is what it appears to be. It's doing some PowerShell stuff, or yeah, a file named PowerShell.exe. And launching in another temp directory location or app data location here. Scrolling down a little bit here, it says it's a binary right there. So it's doing some very odd looking things here. When word again, it's .doc, and then here's the actual binary right there, executable. So that's going to be the answer to that question. So let's flip back over here to the other tab, right? And the IP address, like I said, it's that 96 dot whatever IP there that was communicating in port 8080, and then it dropped a malicious XE, which we saw in the logs there. It's going to be that G underscore jug K.exe, right? Now let's go ahead and take a look at virus total. It wants us to see how many vendors has determined it to be malicious. So I'll go ahead and click that and zoom in a little bit. It's going to be 9 out of 93 for that particular IP address. Now let's go ahead and continue on to the next task here. Task number 6, network artifacts. Annoying. Network artifacts also belong to the yellow zone in the pyramid of pain. This means if you can detect and respond to the threat, the attacker would need more time to go back and change his tactics or modify the tools, which gives you more time to respond and detect the upcoming threats or remediate the existing ones. Network artifact can be a user agent, string, C2 information, URI patterns, or URI patterns followed by HTTP requests, etc., etc. I use different string, etc., etc. Be sure to pause the video and read this. It talks about PCAPs here from Wireshark. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Wireshark. If you're not, be sure to check out the Wireshark room on TryHackMe and look at some PCAPs. You'll more than likely use this in your career if you're going to pursue a career in like as a cybersecurity analyst or a SOC analyst, etc., etc. Yeah, T-Shark, and it talks about Snort here, so we should check those out as well. T-Shark, it's pretty much like a command line version of Wireshark. HTTP post request, and it's got a snippet here from Wireshark. It's what it looks like here. A lot of post requests. Let's use T-Shark to filter out the user agent strings by using the following command. It's got a little command there, and the filters, etc., etc., and it's got an example of what it looks like here. See how it got the user string here, this Mozilla /4.0, yada, yada, yada. There are the most, or these are the most common user strings found on Emotet download Trojan. So be sure to check this link out as well. If you can detect the custom user agent strings that the attacker is using, you might be able to block them, creating more obstacles and making their attempt to compromise the network more annoying. All right, so be sure to pause the video, answer these questions. Now, we're going to go ahead and continue on. What browser uses the user string shown in the screenshot above? Okay, now to find this one, all I did was basically I copied and pasted that user agent into Google to find out what it was, and it came back as Internet Explorer. Let's see here. How many post requests are used in a screenshot from the PCAP file? And that's going to be 6, right? You just count them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Let's see here. Let's try to find this Internet Explorer one real quick. All I did was copy and paste that user agent string into Google, and it brought me to this particular website that I'm looking at here, and it's going to be Internet Explorer, IE. So that's going to be answer to that one. Now let's continue on to the next task, which is going to be task number 7, tools. Challenging. Congratulations, we have made it to the challenging part for the adversaries. At this stage, we have leveled up our detection capabilities against the artifacts. The attacker would most likely give up trying to break into our network or go back and try to create a new tool that serves the same purpose. It will be a game over for the attackers as they would need to invest some money into building a new tool. If they are capable of doing so, find a tool that has the same potential or even gets some training to learn how to be proficient in a certain tool. Attackers use these utilities to create malicious macros, maldocs for spear phishing attempts, a backdoor that can be used with or to establish E2, any custom .exe DLL payloads or password crackers, etc., etc. Take a look at the example here. Trojan dropped the suspicious stiller.exe in the temp folder right there. And it says the execution of the suspicious binary payload.exe, stiller.exe. It's got it listed out here. Antivirus signatures, detection rules, and YAR rules can be great weapons for you to use against attackers at the stage. Now be sure to look at YAR rules if you're not unfamiliar with that. It's a great resource to use for this particular instance. Malware Bazaar and Malshare are good resources to provide you with access to the samples, malicious feeds, and YAR results. These all can be very useful when it comes to threat hunting and incident response. Also, on another note, if you're interested in malware analysis, reverse engineering, etc., be sure to check out TCM Security's course on that, right? It's very, very good. Anyway, back to this. For detection rules, SOC Prime, Threat Detection, Marketplace is a great platform, so be sure to check out all these links in here, right? Go to further details. Fuzzy hashing is also a strong weapon against the attacker's tools. Fuzzy hashing helps you to perform similar analysis, match two files with minor differences based on the fuzzy hash values. One of the examples of fuzzy hashing is the usage of SSDeep. On the SSDeep official website, you can find the complete explanation for fuzzy hashing, so be sure to check that out. Example of it is here, and this appears to be VirusTotal screenshot, right? It's got the hash listed out there. Now, be sure to answer the questions below, and we're going to continue on to find the answers to this. Right, first question, provide the method used to determine similarity between the files, and that's going to be fuzzy hashing as explained above what fuzzy hashing was. Provide the alternative name for fuzzy hashes without the abbreviation. Now to get this one, you're going to have to actually go to the website, so let's go ahead and do that here. It's got it up here. SSDeep is a program for computing context triggered piecewise hashes, CTPH. So that's going to be the answer to that one here. So let's go back over, and there you go. Plug that in there. Now task number 8, TTP's tough. It's not over yet, but good news. We made it to the final stage of the apex of the pyramid of pain. Awesome. TTP stands for Tactics, Techniques, and Procedures. This includes the whole MITRE attack matrix. Awesome. Be sure to check this out. You more than likely will come across this in your career, which means all these steps taken by an adversary to achieve his goal, starting from phishing attempts to persistence and data exfiltration. If you can detect, respond to TTPs quickly, you have the adversary's almost no chance to fight back. For example, if you could detect a pass-to-hash attack using Windows Event Log Monitoring and remediate it, you would be able to find the compromised cells very quickly and stop lateral movement inside the network, yada, yada, yada. Two options. Go back, do some more research and training, reconfigure their tools, give up, and find another target. Option 2 definitely sounds less time and resource consuming. Okay, answer these questions below. So be sure to find those answers to the questions by going through these links here. Now let's go ahead and continue on. Navigate to a Mac or attack matrix web page, and how many techniques fall under the exfiltration category. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And let's just go to the exfiltration one. So it's going to go to tactics up here and go to exfiltration, and you have them all there. So just go ahead and count all of them, and that's going to be answer that one. And it says Chimera is China-based hacking group since 2018. What is the name of the commercial tool? Remote access C2 beacons, etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste that into the MITRE attack. So let's go back over there, right? And there's a fancy little search option there. So copy and paste that in, and it started pulling up some stuff here, and it's talking about exfiltration over C2 channel about them, right? Now we're going to go ahead and find that one here, and that's going to be the Cobalt Strike right here. Chimera has used Cobalt Strike C2 beacons for data exfiltration, and that's going to be the answer to that one. All right, task number 9, the Pyramid of Pain. All right, basically you're going to click on this View Site button here. It's going to open up the Pyramid of Pain, and you see all these definitions up here. Right, well, you're going to drag and drop these definitions into the correct Pyramid of Pain category, and then you'll be done. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and do that, and we'll come back with the correct answers. Okay, test number 9 seems to be broken. It's pretty jacked up because anytime you plug in your answers here and you click check answers, it's going to give you this error right here. All right, but this is the correct answers for these. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. TTPs, remember, this is like the most expensive stage. All right, the adversary has no chance to succeed in its attack if you can detect and respond to threats quickly. That's going to go back and reference that MITRE attack framework, right? If you build detections and such around that, then you'll be in very good shape when it comes to defending against cyber threats. Tools, right? Most attackers are going to give up at this point, right? Because they have to build customized tooling in order to be successful in compromising your network. Network/host artifacts here. The stage attacker would need more time to go back and change his tactics or modify the tools. Use agent strings to information or URI pattern followed by the HTTP post request can be the indicators. All right. Domain names, right? Remember it said it's easy to register a domain. So that's the one here. Purchase, register, etc. Easy for attackers to do. IP address is very easy to get a public-facing IP address these days, so that's nothing to those guys. And then hash values, very, very, very simple and easy to do. Just add a few different bits or modify your code a little bit. Hey, guess what? I got a new hash for my particular malware. So that's nothing. Let's go ahead and close this out here and move on to task number 10, conclusion. And let's see what it says here. Now you have learned the concept of pyramid of pain. Maybe it is time to apply this in practice. Please navigate to the static site to perform the exercise. You can pick any APT as another exercise. Good place would be FireEye or FireEye events, persistent threat groups. When you have determined APT group you want to research, find their indicators and ask yourself, what can I or do or sorry, what can I do or what detection rules and approach can I create to detect the adversary's activity, and where does activity or detection fall on the pyramid of pain? So go ahead and do that and you'll be done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and be sure to hit that like button if you did, if you found it of value. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and share the video if you want to. Awesome. Thanks for checking me out.